Hello and welcome to the Fantasy Sanctuary. It is Fantasy Wildcard weekend. We are here, the playoffs are here, and of course, I'm here to talk about Fantasy Game Day. I'm going to be walking you through the 10 key plays to get into your lineup this week. Of course, I'm going to be covering those captain picks and 2 for each position. If you haven't tried Fantasy Game Day yet, you're missing out. I came second last week, 3 teams in the top 8. It was a very good week. We've had plenty of winners off the back of these recommendations. You can use the code TFS23 for a second free entry once you deposit and get that first entry lined up. But let's dive straight in. The captain picks. It feels like a wide receiver captain pick this week. There are 2 obvious options, high over-unders, high target shares, and you know they're going to produce. We'll start with Amon-Ra St. Brown up against the Rams. Now, the Rams' defense is Aaron Donald and bits and pieces. The front 7 is really impressive, but they have still got holes in the back end. I think this Detroit Lions team is going to have to pass the ball to keep up. I think that Sam Laporte is potentially injured. I think Amon-Ra St. Brown is going to get force-fed the ball. At £7,000, he is priced pretty cheap. And you know that he's got that solid, safe, reliable kind of 15-point floor. So he's not going to burn you, but has got that uber high ceiling. If he can put 20 points plus, you're going to be sitting there very pretty, hopefully looking at some money. And then, of course, CeeDee Lamb, he's the highest priced receiver on the slate, highest priced flex option. Yes, £8,200. It is kind of expensive, hold your nose territory, but we know that this Dallas offense runs through CeeDee Lamb. Dak's force feeding him the ball, whether it's in the slot, out wide. He's averaging 2.7 fantasy points per touch, and it's a really appealing over-under at 50.5. So those are the 2 guys I'm looking at. If you're looking at running back, Kyron Williams, maybe, but there's nobody else that I particularly love in the captain slots this week. So I think it is going to be St. Brown and CeeDee Lamb for me. The quarterback positions. Now, it's interesting because normally I'm talking about cheaper options. Obviously, this being the playoffs, there's no cheap options, so you've got to pay up. Patrick Mahomes, yes, it's going to be freezing cold, but Mahomes has done it before. I know it's a relatively low over-under at 44, but I think that they can still put up points. Mahomes hasn't had the most amazing season, but this is playoff time. We know that Miami defense is susceptible to those tight ends in the middle of the field. We know that Rashee is going to get the ball and do something after the catch. I think that Vic Fangio is going to sit back in that cover 2 shell and ask Mahomes to just pick him to death. So I think there's some decent floor there with some potential upside. And at 5,800, it's not breaking the bank. And then the other option, Dak Prescott, really appealing stack option with CeeDee Lamb, 6,800. It's not outrageously priced. And I think that, again, with that 20 point per game floor that he's producing, we know he's got the seed in 6 top 5 weeks so far this year. It's hard to look away from Dak Prescott, who I think is probably going to be my favorite pick at quarterback this week. Running back, it's kind of hold your nose territory. Look, Isiah Pacheco, great matchup. We know it's going to be cold. We know he runs violently. I certainly wouldn't want to be touching him if it's minus 30 degrees, having to tackle him in the open field. It's not going to be fun, but he gets the bulk of the carries, almost 70% opportunity share. I feel like he is a absolute must in almost every single lineup. And then Tony Pollard. Now, he has not had the fantasy season we all hoped. He has burned plenty of fantasy managers this year, but at 4,600 as a guy that's going to get almost 2/3 of the backfield touches in a high over-under. I've talked about Lamb and Prescott. Can you really load up on this Dallas offense and go 3 pieces there? I'm at least tempted, all right? At the wide receiver position, I mentioned Rashee earlier. He's a dream stack pick with Patrick Mahomes, good value. The last 6 weeks, he's had over 25% target share. He's having 26 targets per route run. With that Vic Fangio defense sitting in that high cover 2, I think they're going to force feed the ball to the Rashee underneath and ask him to do what he can after the catch. I'm a little bit concerned that Jalen Ramsey may be following him, but I do think that they'll be able to scheme up enough touches for him to still have a very relevant week. And at £5,400, the price is appealing. And then the other option, Puka Nacua, he's the cheaper of the options in this Rams passing game, 5,800. If you're looking for maybe a Lions, stack with a Puka Nacua bring back, something like that, he's had 9 top 12 weeks so far this season. We know that he can get it done, and I think that the Rams are going to have to pass the ball in order to put up points, and I'm very excited to see that. Tight end this week. It is a really appealing tight end week. I'm toying with potentially some 2 tight end builds. We've got 2 on the screen here. I think Dalton Schultz and Jake Ferguson are also decent values this week. Dalton Kincaid, criminally undervalued, 2,800. Yes, it is a pathetically low 36 over under, but a lot of that's coming from the Steelers side. He's averaging 9 points per game. I think that the Steelers can be got after at the tight end position. I think Minkah Fitzpatrick is potentially going to have to sit over the top and not come down in the box as much this weekend, which, I think the Bills are going to probably try and spread him out. And if they're spreading him out, Dalton Kincaid becomes that matchup piece. So hopefully it's a good week. And I think that at that price, he could easily be a slate breaker. And then Travis Kelce, look, I'm talking up the Chiefs options. I think the weather against the Miami, I really fancy the Chiefs to bounce back this week. He's only £4,000, which for a guy of Travis Kelce's, caliber is absolutely criminal. So, yeah, if you're brave enough to go for a 2 tight end build this week, it could massively return and it could have some really good ceiling potentially. Again, if you haven't tried Fantasy Gameday, you're missing out. It is a fantastic new app, only available to UK people. Use that code TFS23, and let's hopefully bring home some bacon this week.